Assistant Commissioner John Mitchell, in charge of operations, Superintendent Vanny Corwin, in charge of crimes, and Inspector Rondell Batiste, in charge of the traffic department. I will make brief remarks and also moderate the program. ACP Mitchell will address you on the overall operational intent of the RGPF for Carnival. Superintendent Corwin will speak in relation to safety and security matters, such as target hardening, etc. And Inspector Batiste will inform you of the traffic arrangements for the different activities for Carnival 2022. He will also give you some reminders on the use of the roads. Following the presentations, we will entertain questions from the media. Over the years, the most recent years, Grenada has developed a reputation for being or having the safest carnival in the region. This reputation came about because of the responsible behavior of you, the members of the public. The police could not have achieved this alone. You have cooperated with law enforcement, you have obeyed rules, and generally did what was expected of you to bring us to this point. This reputation also has been responsible for the growth of our carnival product and also attracted more and more visitors to our carnival every year. The RGPF expresses its utmost gratitude to you for helping us to maintain this status over the years. Carnival 2022 is now upon us, having been launched on April 29th and will culminate next Tuesday, August 9th at midnight. It is the overall intention of the police to do what is necessary within the law to ensure that everyone who chooses to participate in carnival activities get to do so in a safe and comfortable environment. And very importantly, that the rest of the nation is allowed to go about their business without unnecessary hindrances. On account of this, we appeal for full cooperation of everyone in obeying the laws of the land and all guidelines laid down for the smooth and effective running of Carnival Festival. Please comply with directions given by police officers and other proper persons. You may not necessarily understand every rule or the reason for them, and changes may become necessary based on prevailing circumstances, but we assure you that the police are out there to facilitate your fun and not to prevent it. Let us all once again, as patriotic Grenadians, play our part and show the rest of the world that, as the SOCA artist put it, Grenada have the best mass by far. Grenada have the best mass in the whole wide world. At this juncture, I turn you over to ACP Mitchell, who will now address you.
Pleasant good morning, and let me take this opportunity once again to thank the general public for taking the time to listen to us, specific as it relates to this Carnival operational brief this morning. I would also like to give recognition to and acknowledge our media, for without you, our messages to the public will be limited. As ASP Douglas indicated, I will speak relevant to our operational intent, our expectations of the general public, who is fundamental in us achieving our overarching objectives. And certainly, one of our main objectives for the Carnival period is certainly to create and sustain the enabling environment that ensures the safety and security of all citizens and visitors to Carnival events. As a precursor to the main Carnival event, the RGPF engaged in numerous public educational drives and other activities. Some of the issues that we spoke to were Carnival rules, and we gave the public information as to the do's and don'ts with regards to Carnival, and we will continue to drive down on this morning. We spoke to issues of traffic and security arrangements for major events. We conducted several presentations at schools and other institutions. We also conducted several warrant drives and held community outreach and walkthroughs by conducting mobile and foot patrol, amongst many other activities. The current state of this Carnival, it is the second phase of our operation. And the second phase of our operation deals with our heightened law enforcement operations for the culminating activities, starting with the Calypso finals at Progress Park, St. Andrews, tonight, and will obviously climax with the Tuesday night last lap jump up. We indulge the usual understanding and cooperation of the general public as we escalate our law enforcement activities both in our communities and more so around the Carnival events and shows. Let me explain or express what the public will see. Certainly, there will be increased law enforcement presence in and around hotspots, in and around our towns, communities, especially during nights of events and days also. We are mindful, very mindful, that people would be away from home, and as a responsible organization, we have to provide that sort of protection, hence the reason for some of our law enforcement presence. We ask the general public, again, and Superintendent Cowan will drill down on this a little bit further, to protect your property, ensure that you secure your property, your home and valuables before leaving. We ask the cooperation of the public in being each other's brothers in terms of looking out for one another during this period. The general public will certainly see and pass through a number of vehicular checkpoints on your way to major events. Do not see this as any inconvenience. The checkpoints are designed for your own security and safety. I already made mention with regards to increased foot patrols and mobile patrols. These patrols will be interlocking patrols, especially from major events into the surrounding areas. We want to encourage patrons and let you know that during events, when you arrive, that there will be security screening. The security screening obviously will be largely technical screening, but whenever there is a need and there is suspicion, physical pat-down will be done. Please, again, see this as safety efforts for your own security and safety. Once you are inside of the venue, we continue to encourage patrons to behave to the best. Certainly, we will have ejection teams at the venue, and if anyone is behaving disruptive, expect to be put out. The entire Royal Grenada Police Force will be mobilized during the next few days for this event, so our show of force on the ground will be large. And through Spice Mass cooperation, we continue to partner in getting private security so that they can augment the Royal Grenada Police Force. We want to encourage our vendors, and this is very important, that you should be there and set up your vending at least 2 hours before show begins. And also we want to encourage our vendors that absolutely no selling of drinks in glass bottles. And to each and every one out there, the Royal Grenada Police Force will certainly continue to have a zero tolerance as it relates to weapons. We want to encourage, in particular, our young men, leave the cutlasses at home, use it for agricultural purposes. We really want to encourage you, do not partake in violence during this carnival period and any time at all. One of the issues that is sometimes hardly spoken of is the issue of safety. And so we want to speak to the concern of open flames. There will be absolutely no open flames, no fireworks, no noxious or chemical in and around events. And we want to continue to encourage our patrons that they obey that rule. We also want to speak to the concern as it relates to unsupervised children. We want to ask our parents and custodians of children, do not leave your young and vulnerable children at home unsupervised. This can result in fires, it can result in sexual offenses, and also can result in children missing. A growing trend that we have observed during the last period is that of young children attending adult events. I have seen on social media that many persons are disgusted with that sort of activity, and we continue to ask our parents to be responsible and do not allow your young children with impressionable minds to be involved in adult show with adult content and lyrics. We also want to encourage our persons, do not drink, and after drinking, that you go swimming. One of the issues as it relates to a safety concern, many times it has happened before, where persons drink after carnival events, they go to the beach, and then because they are so intoxicated, they stand the risk of drowning. And we have had events in the past where persons would have actually drowned. So we just want to, again, encourage the general public. You are a significant part of the success of this carnival operation and this carnival period. Without you, the police force cannot do it. We expect you, as usual, as Mr. Douglas would have stated before, to continue to be on board with the RGPF as we continue to provide for you safety and security for your benefit. And on this note, I want to thank you and hand over to Superintendent Cowan.
Thank you very much, ACP Mitchell. And we now turn over to Superintendent Cowan, who will make his presentation. Sorry, we'll have Inspector Baptiste first, then Superintendent Cowan. So now turn over to.
Thank you very much, ASP Douglas, and let me say a pleasant good morning to the media and the listening and viewing public to this press brief. My role as outlined by ASP Douglas this morning is to outline the RGPF traffic arrangement for the two major shows that we have coming up at the National Stadium. That is on Bacchanal Friday, the Groovy and SOCA MONARCH, and the Biggest White on Sunday, please God. I also will be giving the traffic details on the traffic arrangement for Carnival Monday and Tuesday. So I will start off with our traffic arrangements for the two shows at the National Stadium. We have a standard operational plan for major shows at the National Cricket Stadium, and both shows will be held at that stadium. So the same plan will be used for both shows. I will speak now to the designated parking areas for the two shows at the stadium. We have the where's the college playing field and the concrete parking lot at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium will be used for the general public to park. The VIP will park, excuse me, the VIP will park at the back of the cricket stadium close to the River Road end. But I must make mention that that area is rather limited in comparison to other years. So we have a reduction in terms of the number of vehicles that will be allowed to park there due to some ongoing construction that is taking place in that area. So there will be limited parking space for VIPs there. So we will allow dignitaries and government officials to use that area to park, and any other persons that will be categorized as VIP for those two shows will now park at gate 6. On entry to gate 6, we'll make an immediate left to access that grass area there for parking for the rest of the VIPs. Also, there will be parking for the general public at gate 6 as well. To the right side on entry to gate 6, the general public will park there. As it relates to no parking, the areas, there will be some prohibited areas, no parking areas, while the show goes on at the National Stadium. And those areas are Melville Street from the Fish Market to Keep Left, as we know as called Lacroix Roundabout. Lacroix Roundabout along Queen's Park Public Road onto Cherry Hill Public Road will also be a no parking area. Lacroix Roundabout from its intersection with Queen's Park Public Road along River Road Public Road to LA Porcel Furniture Shop will also be no parking, and the Montrose Public Road will be no parking. It must be noted that there is an emergency route in place in case there is any emergency to leave from the National Stadium, and that emergency route is from the stadium. You will go up Cemetery Hill, down Church Street, onto Granitang Road to the General Hospital. It is important for persons to understand and comply with the prohibited areas that was mentioned a while ago. There will be one-way traffic while the event goes on at the National Stadium. Old Fort Public Road will be one-way traffic going towards Lucas Street direction, and Cemetery Hill will be one-way traffic in an upward direction. Montrose Public Road will be one-way traffic as well in an upward direction. So vehicles traveling along the Ring Road coming from Dabo direction will be able to make a left turn onto Montrose Public Road to get onto Monge and onwards. So vehicles traveling along Monge Public Road will not be able to make a left or right turn onto Montrose Public Road. Also, during the shows at the stadium, the Hornback Bridge will be one-way traffic going from River Road direction. That's while the show is going on. And the reverse will take place on completion of the show. So on completion of the show, Humbag Bridge will be one-way traffic coming from Montrose direction. I will now move on to our traffic arrangements for Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Carnival Monday and Tuesday, our traffic arrangements for Carnival Monday and Tuesday. We will have a number of road closures on both days, and the road closure will cover the 4 different activities that will be taking place on Carnival Monday. That is the Juve, the street pageant, Monday night mass, and parade of the bands on Tuesday. The Juve and the street pageant will follow the same route, so one plan will be used to manage both activity. And there will be some road closure during that activity, and I will just go through the different road closures for the Juve and the street pageant. Kirani James Boulevard and all adjoining roads from its junction with Belmont to the Allen Francis roundabout at Tropicana. Continuing on to Port Highway to the roundabout at Buns Point. The entire portion of road known as the Carnage, Young Street from its junction with the Carnage to its junction with Halifax Street, Scott Street, Hubbard Blaze Street, Tantin Public Road from its junction at Homemade Bakery to its junction at the Botanical Gardens roundabout. And those road closures will be implemented for Juve and the street pageant. And this will take effect from 4 a.m. to 12 noon for the Juve and continues from 12 noon to 6 p.m. for the street pageant. As it relates to the Monday night mass, those said roads that were mentioned for the Juve and the street pageant will also remain closed for Monday night mass. However, there will be additional roads that will be closed for the Monday night mass because the Monday night mass will commence along the Grenada Public Road from its intersection with Gulf Coast. So the additional road closure for the Monday night mass and the parade of the band will be the Grandlands Public Road from its intersection with Gulf Coast to its intersection with Belmont Public Road. While these roads are closed, we have some diversion traffic that will take place during those road closures. So for the parade of the bands and Monday night mass, the diversion of traffic, if you're coming from Grandans direction, you will travel along Grandans Valley to get out of Grandans and access Springs Public Road onto Lotus Lane Public Road, onto Lucas Street or Maras Hill. For the Juve and the street pageant, the diversion traffic will be vehicles coming from Grandlands direction will use Belmont Public Road onto Paddock Public Road onto the Lotus Lane Public Road and use either Lucas Street and Maras Hill. There will be some no parking, no waiting streets and roads during the Carnival Monday and Tuesday activities, and all those roads and streets that were mentioned as streets and roads that will be closed, all those streets and roads will be no parking and no waiting. But there are some additional roads and streets that will be closed, and I will just mention those streets and roads, and that is Paddock Public Road, Lotus Lane Public Road, Lucas Street, Maras Hill. So those areas, in addition to all the others that were mentioned, will be no parking, no waiting areas. I mentioned as to the area for no parking, no waiting, so it's important for me to mention the areas that parking will be allowed during those 2 days. Halifax Street on the right side only from its junction with St. John Street to its junction with Granby Street. Bruce Street on the right side only from its junction with Cross Street to its junction with Melville Street. Grenville Street on the left side only from its junction with Go Street to its junction with Hillsborough Street. I will now go into vehicular traffic. The following arrangements are made for vehicular traffic flow during the period Monday, 8th August and Tuesday, 9th August. Vehicles traveling to Springs or Grandin's direction from the western side will use River Road, Maras Hill, Lotus Lane, and exit on Paddock Main Road. Vehicles traveling to the western side from the direction of Grandin's or Springs direction will use Belmont Public Road, Paddock, Lotus Lane, and exit on Maras Hill. Vehicles proceeding towards the town of St. George's from Government House roundabout should travel along Lucas Street. There will also be one-way traffic. The following are designated one-way traffic in and out of the town of St. George's. St. John Street from its junction with Melville Street to its junction with Church Street. Old Fort Road from its junction with Cemetery Hill to its junction with Lucas Street. Upper Church Street from its junction with Market Hill to its junction with Cemetery Hill. Lucas Street from its junction with Old Fort Road to its junction with Church Street and Market Hill. There are also some emergency routes that will be used based on the different parts of the country that you will be coming from. So if you are coming from the south of the town of St. George, going to the General Hospital, the emergency route will be Paddock Public Road, Lotus Lane, Archibald Avenue, onto Lucas Street, and Church Street onto the General Hospital. If you are coming from the east of the town to the General Hospital, your route will be Lucas Street, Church Street, Granitang Road onto the General Hospital. From the north of the town to the General Hospital, your route will be Cemetery Hill, Old Fort Road, Lucas Street, Church Street, Granitang Road onto the General Hospital. I want to make mention of persons who are parked, which I don't expect will do, but if persons are parked in prohibited areas, the vehicles will be towed away or clamped, and a recovery fee of $125 will have to be paid in order to get back that vehicle. It must be noted as well that if that vehicle remained at the premises of the police in excess of 24 hours, an additional fee, storage fee, will be charged of $25 per day or part thereof. I want to speak to give towards some tips, traffic tips for the carnival season. I just want to remind motorists of the importance of not consuming alcohol. If you intend to drive, don't drink alcohol and drive. I also want to remind motorists to drive in within the speed limit, and to remind you of the different speed limits. So the speed limits for vehicles traveling, private vehicles traveling within any town is 20 miles per hour. And the speed limit for private vehicles traveling out of town, 40 miles per hour. The speed limit for goods vehicles and public service vehicles traveling out of town, 35 miles per hour. It is also important for pedestrians to use pedestrian crossing where one is available. Always use the pedestrian crossing. Always use sidewalks once one is available. So I will stop here for now and I'll await any questions.
Thank you very much, Inspector Baptiste. And we now hand over to Superintendent Cohen to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and good morning to the rest of my colleagues, and morning to members of the media and members of the public. Before I start my presentation, I just want to say how heartened I am and felt for the cooperation that was given to law enforcement during the COVID period. And we are here this morning again asking you for your cooperation to ensure that Spice Mass 2022 becomes the success that we all want it to be. Mr. Douglas indicated in his opening presentation that we cannot be successful in Grenada without you, the members of the public. Whatever we achieve, however we achieve it, is because of your cooperation with us. And we're here this morning again asking you for your cooperation to ensure that Spice Mass 2022 becomes the success that it is. I am going to be speaking primarily on some crime initiatives. I am now the officer in charge of crime, and so I keep my presentation specific to my portfolio. Mr. Mitchell has indicated a few issues, and part of my presentation will overlap with a few of the things that he has already said, but I will say them nonetheless so that we can have reinforcement of some of the points that he has made. What we have seen traditionally, though, during the carnival period is that we have had an increase, particularly in our property crimes. And so this morning we want to implore you as to how you could go about mitigating and minimizing becoming a target of criminals during this particular period. What we have seen primarily is pickpocketing, and I want to start by talking about that. There are some people who make a livelihood, make a living during carnival, just coming out here, being out there, preying on your vulnerability and the exposure of your valuables, your wallets, and they would pick your pocket. And we've seen a lot of that in the past. And so this morning I want to start by saying it is not necessary that you come to or go to any carnival shows with an exorbitant amount of cash. We want to advise you this morning to only take the cash that you think you will need with you, on you, and avoid walking around with large sums of money that eventually can be taken away from you. So that's the first point that I do want to make. Secondly, carnival is a time when we go out of our comfort zone, when standards are dropped and our moral values decrease in some way. And so drinking and drugs become the order of the day. Now, when those happen, your judgment becomes impaired, and so you allow yourself to become vulnerable to thieves and to criminals and people of that sort. And so if you must drink, we ask you to do so moderately. Avoid becoming intoxicated. We want to discourage the use of illicit drugs, marijuana, cocaine, and the other type drugs. Those are illegal in Grenada. And so law enforcement are going to be out there ensuring that we do our utmost best to ensure that our laws are followed during the carnival season. I spoke earlier on about falling standards and reducing moral values. That I want to re-emphasize, because here is where we see quite a lot of the issues that we face during Carnival. People who you normally see as upstanding citizens during the rest of the year. And Carnival, with one drink of alcohol, you see a different person. Standards drop, morals and values erode, and these people now do not have control of themselves, their property, their valuable, and they become a target. Zero tolerance. Mr. Mitchell had indicated the fact that during carnival season, the RGPF has a zero tolerance policy on offensive weapons, knives, cutlasses, we ask that you leave those home. This is a festive season. We all are coming out here to enjoy Spice Mass 2022. We have not had carnival for 2 years, and I'm sure that I will see quite a lot of all my fellow Grenadians in the street enjoying Spice Mass 2022. We want to do this in an atmosphere of peace, safety, and comfort. So we ask that you leave the knives, the screwdrivers, the offensive weapon at home. If you are found with those, our zero tolerance policy means that while we may forgive you, show some forbearance and tolerance and discretion. During normal times, during carnival, we don't, particularly for offensive weapon. You will get a charge. No matter who you are, you will get charged. And that is what our zero tolerance policy speaks to when it comes to offensive weapon. Security of vehicles. People park the vehicles in any place, any spot, and those vehicles in the past have become the target of criminals. And particularly leaving valuables in your vehicles that are visible from the outside is something that we want to discourage you to do. If you must leave valuables in your vehicle, please make sure it is inconspicuous, make sure it cannot be seen. So you put it in the cubby hole, put it under the seat. Do not allow yourself to become sitting ducks by having your laptops on the seat that can be seen from the outside, your wallets in between the seat that can be seen, jewelry, watches, and other valuables that someone can see from outside. That will only make your vehicle become a target. So if you must leave valuables in your vehicle, we ask that it become inconspicuous. But the mantra this morning is, do not leave any valuables in your vehicle if you're going to come to Carnival and park your vehicles on the street anyway within any of the carnival activities for 2022. Marking of electronics is something that I want to speak briefly on. We do know that, as I indicated earlier on, property crime becomes a concern for us during carnival season. So if you're going to be leaving your home, or if you're going to be having valuables in your vehicle, we ask that you at least engrave some sort of markings on your vehicle. Know the serial number of your items. So should it be stolen and recovered, it will be easily identified by you. So please put a marking, not a visible marking that everybody can see, VC, written on the back of your phone or your computer set. Put it in an inconspicuous place that it cannot be seen by somebody just looking at it. And in case those items are recovered, you'll be able to identify it. Keys. We as Grenadians, we have the habit of leaving keys for our loved ones under our mats, in our flower pots in the veranda. For Carnival, we discourage that. Do not leave your keys for anyone under any mats. Do not leave your keys in any flower pot. If you have to go out and somebody else dependent on that key, we ask that you leave that key with a neighbor. Do not leave the keys in and around the house. People might have been looking at you for the greater part of this year. Patterns are something that criminals pay attention to. And Carnival might just be the time when they know you're out in SOCA MONARCH and you'll be coming home 6 o'clock in the morning and you live alone and there is nobody home and they know where that key is. So we ask that you ensure that you do not leave keys where they are. I also want to talk about target hardening. How do you harden your target? How do you make your house, your vehicles become harder for criminals to infiltrate? We talk about perimeter lights. If you're going to go out, if you're going to be going to any of the shows, if you know that there are not going to be anyone home, or even if there are anyone home, it is advisable that you leave some of your outside lights on. Leave your perimeter light, leave your place well lighted. Ensure that windows and doors are properly secured. When you are there during the day, what might be customary for you to just pull your window down without ensuring that it is properly latched, you want to ensure for the carnival season that you ensure that those windows and doors have added security protection. So you want to harden the target. You want to make it impossible for criminals to get into your house, get into your vehicles. If you have an alarm system on your vehicle, we want to ask that you activate the alarm system before leaving the vehicle. Should the vehicle be infiltrated, the alarm will notify somebody around, or it will go off and ensure that attention is being paid to the vehicle. Electricity and stove, safety of the homes. Ensure that you do not leave any devices that are plugged on for an undue length of time that you know you're not going to be home. Computer plugged on, cell phone plugged on. So we ask that those electronic items that are not in use when you're not there, that they are taken off. Ensure that happens. Ensure that lights and other fixtures that are problematic is not left on for an undue period of time that can result in fire in your home. Children, Mr. Mitchell made the point, if you're going to leave young kids at home, please ensure that they are well supervised. When mommy and daddy and the adults are not there is when children explore and when they, their inventive and creative minds come into play. And we do not want that to happen. We do not want to be attending to fires, caused by kids who are left unsupervised. We are particularly concerned with the rise in sexual offenses, as we have been seeing. And so if you're going to leave your kids home and you're going to leave them with somebody, particularly if they're young girls, we want to make sure that you leave a responsible adult. Please do not trust any and everyone to leave your girl children with, particularly for carnival, but not only for carnival in a general sense. Make sure it is people that you have confidence in, people that you trust, and that you don't leave your girl children with them for undue length of time. So if you're going out for any of the carnival shows, make sure that if you're leaving kids at home, there is a responsible adult that are going to be home with them. People who hold licensed firearms, and here is an issue that we want to address. You might be in the Grenville, the Sauters, and the outer parishes, and you're coming to St. George's to participate in whatever show that there is, and you may have a licensed firearm. Remember what the law says on licensed firearm, that you should walk with your permit at all times. But on no occasions are law enforcement going to be securing your firearms for you in any of the shows. So we ask that you do not come to any show with your licensed firearm. If you must carry your firearm with you, we also ask that you do not leave it in your vehicle unsupervised. And so the advice here is to lodge the firearm at the nearest police station. So for an example, if you're coming from Grenville or Sauters and you have a licensed firearm and you come into a show in St. George's, when you get to St. George's, we ask that you lodge that firearm in the central police station, in CID, or any of the police station on your way to the show. We will not be taking responsibility for these firearms at any of the venues that will be policing for carnival. So we want to make that abundantly clear. Do not tend to leave the firearm in the vehicle, because the vehicle will be left unsupervised, and as I indicated before, criminals use those opportunities to take advantage of you in those vulnerable times. So those are some of the crime tips that I want to present this morning. Mr. Battis made the point, if you're drinking, don't drive. If you're driving, please do not drink. One more point that I want to make in closing. If you're going to be using poorly lit areas, particularly if you're females, we ask that you do that in a group. Avoid being alone, walking alone, exposing yourself, and becoming a target to criminals. So if you're a bunch of females, or if you're a female and you have to be going out, and areas that you will be traversing will be lonely areas, we ask that you ensure that you have company. All towards mitigating the fact that our crimes can be increased. People takes advantage during carnival to ensure that they enrich themselves with what we work very hard for. Those of you who are visiting us from regional shows and foreign show, Mr. Douglas made the point that Grenada Carnival happens to be one of the safest carnivals in the world. But it is only what it is because of us and you. We implore you in 2022, please work with law enforcement, work with the IGPF to ensure that your experience in Grenada will be one that you would want to come back, not for 2023, but beyond. Thank you, and I await your questions. I hand you back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Corwin, and thanks to all the presenters for their very comprehensive information and pertinent advice. At this stage, we will entertain questions from members of the media. However, we advise you that we wish to keep the topic on carnival, and so we implore you to keep your questions confined to Carnival 2022. Thank you very much, and we now open for your questions. Good morning. We recognize GBN. Please go ahead with your question. Linda, please go ahead with your question.
Good morning to you and everyone on the panel this morning. My question has to do with illegal immigrants, and is there any? First of all, are you in a position to tell us the amount of illegal immigrants we have had recorded for the year so far, and is the police paying attention to any of our harbors and marine space, and to monitor for persons who may choose to enter Grenada illegally on the coming in for Carnival?
Thank you very much, Linda, for your question. We do not have readily available statistics with regards to the amount of illegal immigrants who may have entered Grenada in the day shortly. But certainly what we can say to you that there are systems and mechanisms in place, laws for persons who choose to do so. We have just recently detained, charged, and send a number of persons back to the country for entering our shows illegally. So I just want to ensure that, to let you know that. Additionally, our operational plan for Carnival, and even beyond Carnival, is a three-dimensional approach. That is, we take consideration to what is happening at land, we take consideration what is happening at sea. So our maritime involvement, our Coast Guard, and also supporting aspect of Coast Guard will be there, going through our seas, going through our beaches, going through our harbors to ensure that we do not have any illegal activities taking place. So as much as possible, our Coast Guard department is part of this operational process, and they have been, for many years, been doing that, and they will continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Just for clarity, over the years, has there been any observation as to the amount of persons that may try to slip in during Carnival as without going through the proper channel of immigration?
Well, look, certainly there will be persons who will try to do that, but we have not had any significant numbers of persons specific to Carnival with regarding persons trying to circumvent immigration for that purpose. Certainly not. Persons who enter Grenada illegally are the normal individuals who, for whatever reason, decide to do so. And we know exactly where we have a large number of, or the larger number of persons entering Grenada from. And do not want to mention any country, but certainly this has been an ongoing issue, and we continue to deal with this appropriately.
My other question has to do with confiscation of illegal drugs. I think research has been done, study has been proven that in the build-up to any major event that don't have a lot of human traffic, there is this tendency for drugs, what we classified as illegal drugs, to be somehow get into that area days or months in advance. Are you in a position to tell us whether or not, for the past 2 months, Grenada, the amount of cannabis that has been confiscated, cocaine confiscated, and other drugs such as meth and phenylene and so forth, has there been confiscation of those drugs in high quantity, or are we seeing the normal type of seizure?
Well, certainly our drug squad department will have those figures for you. And whenever we do have confiscation, I'm certain that Mr. Douglas, who is in charge of the department, makes that public to the nation. And this is something that we will continue to do. We have been doing for many, many years. So there is no different approach to, as it relates to letting the general public know as to when we confiscate, especially significant amount of drugs. But at this point, I would just transition to Superintendent Cohen in charge of crime, and for him to make a comment on that also.
Morning. Thank you for your question, Linda. As Mr. Mitchell indicated, our drug squad continue to be very successful at what they do. Drugs is something that we continually confiscate. Unfortunately, we did not collate the data for you this morning because our presentation this morning was particularly prepared for Carnival. So we did not crunch those numbers, those data for you. So unfortunately, I will not be able to specifically answer your question, but I'm sure in some other forum at some other time, those answers can be made available.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had another person waiting to ask a question. Someone else from GBN? Any other question pertaining to Carnival from members of the media? Okay, if not, we will now ask in the reverse order our presenters to make any closing remarks they wish to make. So we invite Superintendent Cohen to make his closing remarks.
Thank you again, Mr. Moderator. As I indicated in my opening remark, I ask Grenadians to please ensure that we can make our homeland proud to the international community. It takes all of us to ensure that security for our homeland is in our hands. It is not the responsibility of the RGPF alone, but we call on all Grenadians to work with law enforcement to ensure that we continue to enjoy the peace and tranquility, and that for Carnival 2022 will be no exception. I wish you very well. Enjoy whatever shows and activities that you partake in. I think you deserve that. You have worked well with law enforcement during the COVID lockdown, and maybe here is an opportunity for you to get some steam off, but let's do so responsibly and safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. We now invite Inspector Baptiste to make his...
Thank you very much, ASP Douglas. I just want to encourage the motoring public that we look forward to the continuous cooperation and compliance to all the regulations that was outlined here this morning. With reference to our plans for the events at the stadium and Carnival Monday and Tuesday. I also want to mention that to remind the general public that road safety is everybody's business. Everyone have a part to play in making our roads safe for all its users. I want to encourage drivers and pedestrians to observe and comply to all the rules that governs the operation on the road, and by doing that, that will significantly contribute to definitely making our road safe for all road users. I want to wish each and everyone a safe, and those of who are participating in Carnival, an enjoyable one. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector Baptiste. ACP Mitchell, closing remarks.
Again, let me join my other colleagues in expressing our profound appreciation, thanks, and gratitude to the general public. And let me say this on behalf of our Minister of National Security and our Prime Minister, our Commissioner of Police, the rank and file of the RGPF. Our deep sense of gratitude, again, and appreciation for the continued support of the general public throughout the years, and we expect that they will continue to do so this year again as it relates to Carnival events. I do not want to miss at all to congratulate all law enforcement officers who have continued to transition from one national event to the other. And this Carnival is another reminder that we continue to transition, to move from one national event to the other. And I just want to give total recognition to our officers out there and to continue to encourage them to perform their duties as they would have done many, many times before. I also just want to end by saying this. The scripture indicates that except the Lord watch the city, we who are law enforcement officers, we would wake in vain. We would stay awake in vain. And except the Lord build our house, build our country, our community, our villages, we would labor in vain. So we just want to ensure that we take this opportunity to give him thanks, to give him praise, and to recognize him in all that we do. On this note, I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, ACP Mitchell. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this very important press brief, I take the opportunity to again express thanks to you, the members of the public, for listening. Thanks to the members of the media for their presence and their questions. Thanks again to the presenters for outlining the very important information that they did. Thanks to GIS for facilitating this press brief. And finally, to re-emphasize the thanks of the RGPF to the general public for the continued support in ensuring that Grenada remains the safe haven that it has always been. Thank you very much, and we wish everyone a safe and enjoyable Carnival 2022.
And Power SOCA MONARCH is here. Friday, August 5th at the National Stadium. Battling it out for the groovy Monarch will be Papa Jerry, EC, Royalty, Lil Jello, Scholar and Pappy Boy, Crave, Brother B, Abby Moraine, Looney Spark and Electrify, Mr. Walkie, and Hits. And attempting to take the Power SOCA MONARCH crown will be Terror the Governor, Jab King, Lil Jello, Pinky Fabulous, Leadneck, Mellow, Stunner, Super Flying Flint, Looney Spark and Electrify, Mr. Walkie, and Hits. Admission $100. More on the day. Or experience it front stage in our premium all-inclusive VIP for $500. There will also be special guest appearances on the night. The quest is on to crown the groovy and Power SOCA MONARCH for 2022. Who will it be? Friday, August 5th from 8 p.m. National Stadium. The battle